Hi, everyone. I'm Meredith, and welcome to Conversations with Friends. And it's like about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, I was just thumbing through a magazine, going through a magazine, and all of a sudden, this art pops up, and this face of this artist pops up, and I start to read it. And I have to tell you, I was mesmerized by what Elyssa Helfman does as an artist. And I think you're going to see what I mean as soon as you meet her and you see the work that she's doing, which is all about her love, her actual passion for animals that's existed for a long time. And it's very, very interesting. And we have a lot to talk about. So I'm just delighted, Elyssa, to be here with you and to just see the work that you do and learn more about you and your whole process. So your love for animals, I mean, everybody loves animals, I think. But your love was very deep for animals. And as I understand it, it started when you were quite young, wasn't it? Didn't it?
Yes. Well, first of all, Meredith, thank you so much for having me. I am really, really honored that my work jumped out at you and you reached out to me. And I'm just so happy for this opportunity and to reach your community. So again, thank you for that. And yes, I mean, I think I was just a little, toddler when I was chasing around animals and asking my parents for every kind of pet under the sun. I probably drove them crazy, but I just had to be, in nature and in touch with everything. And that just, I think, carried over into even my adult life. So my passion for animals has just, I think, grown stronger since even being a child. And as you can see, has definitely manifested in my work as well.
Yeah, we're going to see some of the work. We can see something behind you, but then something happened was you were pretty young and you realized, or I don't know how you realized, or you started painting or doing art that you had some talent, quite a bit of talent, right?
Thank you. Yes, I that was always, everyone might have their thing. That was my thing. I was painting and drawing. The story goes before I was walking and talking. So I really don't remember a time when I wasn't creating art. I'd always find ways. Again, my poor parents, I think I was probably drawing on walls all the time and painting my Barbies and making up books. And so it was just a huge part of my life and always has been. And I'm sure we'll talk more about it, but there was definitely a period of my life where I got more into the digital side. And in the last 7 or 8 years, have really gotten back into getting my hands dirty, painting, and just absolutely loving the process of it.
Just being the artist. Well,
Yeah.
that's, and it's just a wonderful thing to me, that you do what you do, and it all has to do with the purpose. We're going to talk about that, but let's just take a look at some of your work and you can tell us about what we're seeing. I think we know what we're seeing, but a little bit more how you
absolutely. So this is giving you, oh, sorry about that, Meredith. Didn't mean to talk over you.
Okay.
So here's basically a window into my studio, and you can see some of the larger paintings that I have. And this was just a great photo shoot that I did about a year ago because I really wanted to capture a lot of the work that I was going to be releasing for sale and, be able to sort of memorialize a lot of it since, it would be leaving my hands. But yeah, this is definitely, me in my element in my studio and just loving like the light that's coming in and being surrounded by a lot of the work that I have created so far.
And being surrounded by animals, right? Your friends, here they are right there with you. Does that feel good as you paint them and they seem to be increasing in your studio?
Yeah, no, it definitely, it's funny that you mentioned that. It does feel great. I mean, if you ask me my ideal vacation, I'd be on a safari or, at a dude ranch or just, again, completely immersed in nature and like one with animals. So I have to sort of reconcile my urban lifestyle, and our sort of commercial lives with really just being with nature and wanting to be with nature. So as you can see, I really surrounded myself with that. And again, I think all these pictures really capture my love for painting and just, even experimenting with different mixed media. And I purposely do a lot of bright paintings, colorful paintings. It's my way of having some, I think, further awareness about, endangered animals, animals in general, our humanity, respecting our environment, our nature. I think if you take it out of its natural element, and so you're being able to use these really bright, unnatural colors in a way, right? Like there's, gray elephants and tan tigers, and being able to give them more of that sort of supernatural spotlight, it definitely makes the user stop and think and look at them in a different light.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that, you just have this love for being around animals. And I think that most people do love animals, but they don't really have a way to bring them into their life. And I know I always loved nature. I grew up like you, I grew up climbing trees, and I love nature, but unfortunately, I had no artistic talent. My mother was an artist. I had no artistic talent at all. Lucky for me, I got to do a lot of shows on PBS, WLRN TV for many, many years about artists and musicians and dancers, but I had no talent. So I probably didn't, have a way to be able to communicate so much. Well, I think maybe I did it differently, but, and so most people, do you think in a way, most people don't really stop and except, they might watch a nature documentary or something, but most people don't really stop and think about the animals and really, really focus on animals as you are able to through your art.
Right. Well, first of all, I want to say creativity comes in many forms. So while you're saying that you don't have artistic talent, you clearly have a lot have a lot of creative talent to be doing what you're doing. So I just wanted to point that out, because a lot of people say that. They say, oh, I'm not creative, or I'm not talented. And absolutely, we all have different ways of expressing our creativity. But to circle back to your point about people being able to connect with animals and nature, I think you even pointed it out earlier that we get so caught up in our daily lives, and, we're in a time of just instant gratification, instant connections, right? Because we have such advanced technology, and it's just going to speed up even further and further. And so in many ways, I think we as human beings have lost a lot of our innate connections with nature, with animals, with our environment, because we are so plugged in. And, I think that's something for us to really consider and contemplate and take a step back and see, because I think it is a natural connection. And I'm sure this is a big part of some of the principles in your meditation, and a lot of the meditations I do, is that we're really all one. We're all one, we're all connected. We all come from, the same sort of elements. And so it is bringing back that connection and making you aware that, and also I do think, we have voices as human beings, right? We have communication. And that's one of the main things that sets us apart from the animal kingdom, is that we actually have that tool. And they, we speak a different language than they do, right? So I think we have even more of a responsibility to speak up, to protect, and to help out when, they don't have that voice to say what needs to be said.
They can't do it themselves. And we have really, really done so much harm, to the natural environment, and done so much harm to these animals. So, a big part of your work is really about, would you say it's about kind of getting people to think about maybe what they can do to help, the endangered animals, the growing endangered animals list? So it might not be these incredible animals like a lion or a tiger or a rhinoceros, but all the animals of the world. So, is that part of your message through your work?
Absolutely. That is definitely part of my message. Yeah. Now, it's not my expectation that just because someone enjoys or admires or purchases my work, that they're going to now take an action that make a difference. I hope so, right? That would be the ultimate bonus, is that someone's actually inspired and moved and compelled to do something. But I'm also making it easy for people in a way where I'm saying, if you purchase from me, you get I'm donating 10% of all my proceeds go to wildlife conservation. And so someone can feel good about taking that action, that they're already making a difference in that way. But yes, I also hope that just by staring at something that you're connected to, a beautiful picture of an animal or something that feels really creative and different, and you look at that every day, that's going to seep in to some degree where you start to make that connection about just getting connected to your environment, to your surroundings, that we do have a responsibility to do better, and that there's beauty all around us and in our world that, we're not present to because we don't see it every day in our natural, you don't walk outside your door and see an elephant every day, right?
No,
But
not in my life. I did go on a safari with my
oh,
husband
I'm jealous.
some years ago, which is maybe one of the greatest things I think of my life, but I would share something that relates to what we're talking about, because you said that I didn't think about until just now. Because you said, we should stop, we should be able to, that's what art can do. We can stop and just enjoy a piece of art and be still for a while rather than running and doing and going. But we were in the Jeep with the guide, and there were, I think it was elephants, if I recall, that we were watching it. Everybody was just so focused on taking the photos. That's all people were doing. And what he said, could you all please stop, put down your cameras, and enjoy the moment. You will never have this moment again. You might, but you might not. And you're not enjoying the animals. You're more focused on taking your pictures. Does that kind of say it all about the way our society is today? You were more concerned about the doing than the being.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even just hearing that story reminds me of, when we go to a concert, sometimes I notice that everyone's videoing the music and you're right there. You're there to hear the music. So it's so interesting that I think we have a lot of fear of losing the moment rather than being present in the moment. And I think there's a lot to be said about being still, being with it, and observing, right? Because if you're busy taking pictures, you're busy videoing, you're missing the feeling, the emotion, right? How do you feel when you're in that moment and you're face to face with something? Or what's that, what's the environment like? Is there a breeze blowing in your face? Is it warm? Is it cold? What's happening? Are you nervous? Are you, there's so much to feel and embrace and embody in that moment that you're could be missed, right? Just by trying to capture it.
Absolutely. And so I think it all comes down to what you just said is being present in that moment. And that's what art can do, can't it? Like you paint a picture like the wonderful lion that I'm looking at, and you can just sit there and enjoy it. But again, if you're busy looking at this picture, looking at that picture, not really focusing. So, you were talking about meditation, and meditation is really all about focusing, and not being here and there with your mind, and your mind just kind of goes wild and you have no control over your mind, is to be able to just stop. And what do they always used to say? I haven't heard it in a while. And smell the roses, right? I mean, just stop and enjoy and relish the moment. And I know myself, I'm sometimes so caught up in the doing. I have to do this, I have to take care of that. And I recently heard someone say that, we're so almost afraid that we can't get things done. There's stress of not getting the things done we need to get done. And their comment, that what they were saying was that just have the faith that everything will get done. It's not going to make it, you're not going to get things done faster if you're worrying about it and you're thinking about your list. I knew someone that had no list. She said her whole life, even until she was, until she passed away and she was quite old, she never had a list. She just felt she knew what she had to do and it got done. And I thought, oh my God, I can't live without my list. Right? But
I would like her to teach me her ways.
Yeah, right. She was very in the moment. But tell me about your process. Like, what goes on? We're getting a glimpse of your studio, right?
Yes.
Which is so much fun. What's your process like? I mean, you sit there with a blank canvas, and what happens? Do you come with a picture of a lion, or does it start in your head, or how does that work?
Right. That's a great question. And as an artist, my process is evolving. So I'll share that with you too, though. There's a lot of vulnerability as an artist, right? We put ourselves out there. And so one of the things I'm working through is I realized for my process, I like to have an idea of what I'm doing. I don't know. There's just something about feeling somewhat prepared. There's things I can't predict, and I make sure that there are those elements in my work where that I can't control what the outcome is going to be, but I like to come in with an idea. So let's say, there's a certain animal and a certain pose I know I want to create. So I come in with at least an idea of that. Then I start doing some research. I look at pictures of that animal, poses of that animal. I start to sketch things out. I start to do color palettes so that I can see what colors do I want to include on this. Is this feeling going to be very royal? Is it going to have a lot of those like jewel tones to it? Or is it going to be really bright and playful, like that line behind me has those like neon greens and neon yellows? And so that one was supposed to be very, bright and positive in my mind. So I do have a vision for it, and I try and get it on paper with the sketches and the color palette. And then I do a lot of mixed media type work where I paint on paper. And one of the reasons I do that is because it creates this effect that, and you'll hear me say this a lot, but that I can't control. So the way that the paint bleeds on the paper, the way that the colors interact with each other is something I can't predict. And so there is that organic aspect to it that I really love, because sometimes these magical things happen, like the way the colors just burst together, there's ways that they interact that I could have never planned out. So a lot of times when I create those special mixed media papers, they speak to me, they tell me where it needs to go and what part of the animal it needs to go on. And then I paint on top of that too. So that becomes my foundation. So that's really, I would say, a good summary of my process. I start out with an idea, and I usually have some sort of vision in my head that I need to get out onto the canvas. And a lot of times it looks the way I was hoping it would look, and a lot of times it takes a different direction, and I just have to go with it. So
it's kind of like you have, really, you do your homework is what you do before. You kind of plan, you prepare, but then at some point there's that moment, right? That's what I'm hearing from you, that it takes over. The animal tells you what to paint, or something happens to you, right?
Exactly. I think it's like the process of letting go a little bit. It's something I'm working on as an artist, is not being so controlled. And so I know that's my part of my journey, and part of my evolution is, like the idea of staring at a blank canvas and just going for it and having no idea what I'm going to paint scares the heck out of me. So I know that that's my evolution as an artist. And some artists, that's just not their style. They're always going to come in with exactly what they want to paint, and they know exactly what they want to do. But for me, I know, my journey is not just about artistic development. It's about really letting go of control, seeing what can come through me, spiritually, and just what intuitively I'm going to start painting. So I feel like I'm partly there, but there's a lot more for me to go.
Yeah, well, I think that's the spiritual process. I don't think that ever ends either.
That's true.
Probably if you feel, if you got there and you go, you know what, I love everything I do, it's perfect. Then what?
Then what? Then it's time
and then it's kind of like you're living in a way in the past. Right. And so you're really always, to me, I get the feeling that you're always moving forward and in the moment and enjoying the process. I mean, you're usually pretty happy when you're finished at the end.
I am. I would say I'm not a tortured artist. There's all different kinds of artists, and some people really draw on their, maybe like, let's say that's how they express their negative emotions. For me, I'm more of a happy painter, but I would say, there is a lot of struggle, right? Because sometimes you want something to look a certain way, or you want it to be beautiful, and it just doesn't come out that way. And that is part of the process, right? There's failing and learning from it. There's pieces that have turned out just absolutely horrible in my mind, but other people have loved. And so there's so many lessons to be learned. It's like not just about what I like, it's what is the observer like. Then there's times where I think it's terrible, but then I wind up scrapping it, but something comes through out of that provides the foundation for something else. So there's always learning and growing involved.
It's a process. It is, like you say, a growing process. Do you feel that you really, it's not a good thing? I'm just asking you, it's not a good thing to think about what do people want? Because I often feel that's more of a person that's really selling rather than creating. but maybe that's necessary sometimes, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it depends on what kind of artist you are. There's a lot of artists that are just doing what they know sells, what's commercial, what's popular right now. And that's good. That's great for them. Like, I think whatever makes everyone happy, right? For me, it's a mixture, right? There's things that I love painting. But then, maybe I see that there's a certain style that people really love. And I go, oh, maybe I should do more of that, because I enjoyed that. And that was great. And, actually one of the pieces that peacock back there in the far edge of the screen, that was one of my pieces where I completely let go. I did not know what that was going to look like. And that was a very intuitive piece. And that happens to be one of my most, popular pieces in terms of what people are ordering reproductions of. So, in some ways it is really helpful to know what people love, because it can help guide you into, oh, that's awesome. Maybe I should do, more of that. On the other hand, too, I want to say that looking forward into the next year, one of my goals is I do want to get more of my work into people's homes, because then I can make a bigger impact in, my mission and my cause. And so the more paintings I get in people's homes, the more money I get to donate to wildlife conservation, the more people appreciate and honor endangered animals. And so part of me does think about, well, what's going to go well with people's decor? How do I like express my style in a way that feels like it's easy to put in someone's home, and then everybody wins,
And again, you're making an impact, as you say, because people are looking at your art, and maybe their friends are looking at your art, and you're raising awareness, as you say, of endangered animals and what animals are going through today. I've watched some of those documentaries, and I can't remember, he's the famous documentary maker on, he's been on Netflix and PBS. And he said that, there is so much that we could do to really help the planet. It isn't like it's gone, but it does have to do with awareness, as you say, but changing our lifestyle. So I was just wondering if you've had any thoughts about that. And I know, he talks about, oh God, he's so famous, and he's amazing. And a lot of what he says is that, the animals are endangered today because we have taken away their home. We have taken away their land. And why? Our eating habits, So I was wondering, it's wanting more things, more development everywhere, when people don't necessarily need, more houses or more. I mean, people need to live, but, all of that. So do you feel that there is something that we all can not just be aware, but that people can actually do to create, a better environment and to help the animals?
Yeah, I think it's such a good question. It's something I think about all the time. One of the reasons I started doing this was because I felt like I needed to do something. And, at least from my perspective, it felt like it was hard to start changing some of these global laws, and I'm not in politics, and I don't know that I can actually me personally can make some of those larger, governmental changes that really do need to happen. So what can I do? What can me as an individual do? And I think that if we all took the time to say, what can me as an individual do? And we all did something, that would amount to a lot, right? So I'm hoping that, I could be an example for people. It's not like I'm this big name or I'm born in some celebrity family and I have that platform, and I'm still grinding it out and I'm still doing what I need to do. So I feel like everyone can do it. If I can do it, then everyone can do their part. Everyone can do something that speaks to them, right? We can do it all different things, right? There's people who are vegan. There are people who donate their time and do beach cleanups. There are people who petition. Like, there's so many different avenues that we can each take. And I think to me, at least, the bottom line is just do something.
I love it. And that's really what kind of the philosophy of the Brahma Kumaris, the spiritual organization, which is, that I've been meditating with, for many, many years. And that's their philosophy, is that everybody can do something to bring peace to the world, to bring harmony. And our organization, actually, we are vegetarians. Some are vegans, not all. But I remember when I became a vegetarian, when I started meditating many years ago, that was something that I just became immediately. It was when I heard that nobody forces you to become a vegetarian or a vegan, but I heard that the teachers were vegetarians and I just stopped. And this is so many years ago. I wasn't aware even then of the plight of the animals or what was, I mean, you read about it, but I mean, because I've been doing this for over 35 years and it wasn't such an issue. But now it's like everybody knows, don't they? Everybody knows that the planet and the animals are suffering. And so what can we do? So I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts? Should we be able to ask ourselves, what can I do? It could be something very simple, you know, it could be just something that you do to help people. It doesn't have to be some mega solution to the,
I think we can all do something. And I hope I can be an example to people. You know, it's not like I have a ton of free time to be doing all of this. You know, this is carved out time. And so I think we could all carve out a little time to do something.
Nice.
You know, and again, there's so many different avenues we can take. And for me, I have 2 young children. And so it's really important that I show them that they can do something too, you know, and there's really no limit to us making a difference on this planet, big or small. And let's start now. You know, there's no limits to what we can do, but just start, you know.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the children because the children are the ones who are probably more affected than any of us, right? They're coming, you know, to a world. And so just the fact that you give them hope and you make them feel that there is something they can do, you know? So
Absolutely.
It's that they can be part of the change in the world and help with changing the world.
Yeah, my 7-year-old is starting to grasp that. My 3-year-old has no concept. She has no concept.
3 is a little young, right?
But you know, he's starting to realize, you know, we'll be driving and he'll go, that car just threw something out their window. They're littering, you know? And so we talk about things like that. And, you know, we pick up trash when we see it. And there's just all, you know, again, little things can make a big difference, especially collectively and consistently. So I do try and bestow those lessons to them, but yeah, I mean, I'm sad for them. They're walking into a situation that they didn't create, you know, that wasn't their doing. That's our doing and our ancestors doing and so forth. So I do think we have a responsibility to make it better for them.
We do. And to teach them, to let them be part of this whole, you know, helping the world and to give them hope, you know, that there is something, it's not too late, you know, there's something that we can all do. So I think that's really important. And I think, you know, just sitting here listening to you and seeing that what you are doing does truly make a difference, Elyssa. You know, it does, because every person that sees your paintings, your wonderful paintings that are, as we said at the beginning, they're so vibrant, they're so alive. They feel like they're almost like little real animals, you know, like they could just jump out and talk to us. And so you must have a very beautiful relationship with all these animals in your life, huh?
Thank you so much. I can't explain it. It's just you know, it's like a compelled, you know, a compelled feeling like I have to do something. And I don't know, I think, you know, I might have shared my story with you that when I was pregnant with my son is when I really got present to, oh my God, I'm bringing a new human being into this planet. And I just felt very strongly that I had to do something. And then I thought, well, again, what can I do? What do I have the ability to do? And for me, it's being creative. It's painting as one of my creative outlets. And so I do think everyone has something that they're really talented at. There's always, you know, whether it comes in the form of creativity or if it's something else, you know, some people are excellent communicators or, you know, excellent organizers. There's like a need for everything, right? So there's always something that we can use our best skills and talents for.
Everyone, I love what you're saying, and I feel like everyone can play a role, you know, in this gigantic drama of the world. And there is something that everyone can do. And I you know, sometimes people go, what can I do? And I think, just ask yourself, right? Meditate on it. Think about it. Go into silence and say, what is it that I can do to help the world, help the animal, help the plight of people, of, you know, whoever they are, whether it's refugees or, you know, anything,
Absolutely.
people suffering. And so I thank you so much, Elyssa, for saying yes. And I didn't even mention that you're also a director, a creative director, right, of a company.
Yes.
You're not
Yes.
painting and you're not taking care of your kids and spreading the message, you know, to help these endangered animals. So you're very busy. You're quite busy, and you manage.
I am, but I wouldn't have it any other way. You know, it's a full life.
Beautiful.
So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And this was such a lovely conversation, and I hope it makes a difference for somebody. And I'm happy to talk to anybody after this if they're so compelled to reach out to me.
Oh, beautiful.
If
they want to, I will, you know, if they contact us, we'll definitely let them know.
Absolutely.
You know? That's really beautiful, Elyssa. So continued success.
Thank you.
With your work.
Thank you.
And thank you. And Mita Saxena, I thank you, our technical director of the Brahma Kumari's site here in Miami, our Miami site, which can be seen on YouTube. And thank you for watching.
Thank you.
See you again very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.